Now let's go over how to do a max strength test for the 1RM back squat. So with the 1RM back squat, it basically says the client's maximum strength for the squat exercise. Now you can do this for the front squat, you can do it for the overhead squat. Generally, the back squat is the most commonly done test. So most people understand it, so we use that one. So when do we do it? We do it when we have an intermediate to advanced lifter. You're certainly not going to do this with a beginner. With a beginner, it's kind of useless because they've never really done a maximum squat before. They've never trained this lift heavy. So any kind of test that you're giving them is shitty data. Now, progress tracking can be really good for for tracking progress over time. And with the apps, particularly the Kahuna's app we use, that can make an estimated 1RM, which can be really useful for using it for the testing. But certain people have a predisposition for either like be more fast twitch in nature or be more slow twitch in nature. So if we're doing that, this helps us kind of identify if they're more fast or slow twitch and see any gaps in their training. So as we go over the programming stuff, we'll learn how we can actually make this result better by finding out the limiting factor in that client achieving their outcome. And it's obviously really important for powerlifting or strength focused clients because that's exactly what we're training for. So it's giving us the exact metric that we're looking for, although don't test it every day. So how we do test, we warm up, generally some light cardio, some mobility work, the usual warm up that we would do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do our general progressive loading warm up. Okay. Now, once we get to a point where we can comfortably lift the weight for about 2 to 3 reps, then we're just going to do 1 reps from that point there. Okay. So with this one, you don't want to do too many reps in the warm-up process. You want the warm-up process to be gradual and you want them to go nowhere near failure in each and every set. So if I'm warming up with 60 kilos, for example, after I've done my bar, I could probably squat 60 for 50 reps. I might only do, between 5, 8, maybe 10 reps, depending how cold I am, to warm up a little bit more and really grease the groove for that movement pattern. As it gets up and the weight goes up, the reps will come down every single set because what we want to do is warm up. We don't want to maximize fatigue. So we need to have a standard for the squat as well. Pretty simple. We need to make sure that they at least break parallel. We want the form that we're going to train with to be the one that we test with most of the time, unless it's powerlifting. Because in powerlifting, we'll use different form variations to target different strengths and weaknesses. In training it like it's just a client who wants to get strength, always have it done in the way that we actually train it. And rest periods, 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how the client feels. You want to maximize this because you want to have as much ATP regeneration as possible in that time frame. And a lot of people rush through this, which then compromises their ability to demonstrate their maximal strength. And we don't want to do that. And we definitely want to use spotters and safety racks there for safety. A lot of people have been hurt bailing out of a squat, and we certainly don't want that to happen. So definitely need to be very, very aware of what's going there and keep our clients safe in this situation. So again, we've got all the things that we're looking for. And one thing that I want to harp on just for a minute is that the 1RM squat's not going to look perfect, okay? And thinking your 1RM squat needs to look perfect is a false belief for personal trainers and also for strength athletes. If it is your true 1RM, it's going to be a little bit ugly. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it being just a touch ugly, as long as it's not incredibly ugly. You come to a point where the risk outweighs the reward from doing that. So I would generally let people get away with a 6.5 to 7 out of 10 in form for their maximal rep. For the rest of the time, I would want to, I don't think there's a benefit to going to like a 3 out of 10 and the client just grinding through the motion in a totally wrong way. If they were competing in a powerlifting competition and it wasn't going to get them disqualified for form, I'd be totally okay with it because that is the outcome that we're going for. For general training, certainly not worthwhile. So what we need to do is make sure we don't get insufficient depth. We don't have too much collapse. I don't actually mind a little bit of collapse, but we don't want the knees to actually be touching. We don't want to have too much rounding in the back, and we want them to lock out at the top of the lift. Pretty simple. So with some of the implications here, a low 1RM means they need to get stronger. It's pretty simple. Generally, we want to look at taking it well above body weight for a barbell back squat for a strength athlete. A moderate one, they might need some more specific strength in general. And for a high 1RM, then we need to operate on their training program being the way that we deal with it. So low 1RM, they just need to get stronger overall. Moderate 1RM, they need to focus on specific groups to bring it up. And high 1RM, they need to look at the programming strategies to get to the next level. So each of the different markers that someone has are the things that they need to focus on. So let's use an 80 kilo man as an example. If he hits 80 kilos, which I would consider to be a low 1RM, they just need to get stronger overall and get better squat technique. That's it. Simple as that. Easy as that. Now, when they get to 140 kilos, what we'll find is there'll be one particular muscle group that will generally hold them back. And when they're doing, well, say 120, sorry, and when they're doing 160, when they're doing double body weight, okay, then we need to look at different training methods to get them going further, because it's not weak points that are going to be the problem there. It's going to be the fluctuation of training stress over time that's going to help them get a better result in that. So for low 1RM, focus on technique and just getting strong practice. Moderate 1RM, look at focusing on the assistance exercises and finding out where they're specifically weak. High 1RM, look at modulating the training. So a couple of things can influence this. Now, but before we get to the point that someone's doing a 1RM test, these things will probably be sorted. So just don't jump the gun with this. And when not to perform it, when the client's new to strength training, there's no point. You'll get a great before and after, but it's because they haven't got it before. They just started, that is there before. Clients with a history of injury, I probably wouldn't do it without a lot of talking about it. I don't think it's certainly necessary for a lot of clients to do 1RM testing unless strength is a goal, and clients without proper squat technique. Now, we have lots of different ways that we can progress this. Now, what we talked about earlier is another progression model as well. This is more looking at using specific squat methods and then periodization, and this is looking at doing different things to target different areas and make stronger. Here is just get stronger in general and get better technique. All those things will help bring up your client's 1RM squat, and we have a program called it the 16-week squat something Karafa. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a squat specific program for 16 weeks, and that will bring up all your clients' 1RM to about, if they've got a decent level of training from intermediate, they can get close to 2 times body weight in most cases.